Hey wrestling friends, welcome to episode 23 of Suplexes and Microphones. I'm Nate, down there is Joe, and between us we have the big man, Montana Black. Now, I mentioned this before briefly in an interview we had with Pastor Drew Adler. I'm 6'3", so I'm not the biggest person out there, but pretty close.
Right.
So if I come across somebody who's bigger than me, it's a little weird for me to be honest. I'm used to being the biggest guy in the room, so definitely got my attention first time I saw you. So how tall are you, by the way?
6'6".
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Like right there. I was 6'5" for a while, and then last couple of times I went and got checked. It was 6'6".
You had a growth spurt again later in life?
It happens. Like, it's weird because like you see people that you haven't seen in a while, and they're, oh, you look like you've grown. And I'm like, no, you're just short.
Okay.
And then like you go in and get like a checkup, and they're like, oh, you're 6'6". I'm like, oh, I did grow. Nice. Might just be the hair. You know, I got an inch or two extra.
Could be it. So, there you go. But yeah, so looking forward to getting to know Montana better today, and like I said, definitely got my attention first time I saw you in the room. So let's kick it off, Joe.
So let's talk about your name. Montana Black's something that everyone can remember. It's simple. Everyone thinks of Montana as being this big state and everything. Is that where the origin of the name come from, or
no? So it's all right. So it's gonna be real weird. All right. Okay. So in 2011, 2012, I was in a relationship with a young lady. Things started getting kind of rocky, and found out that she had kind of cheated on me at some point in time. So there was moments where I was trying to break off the relationship, and she wouldn't allow it to happen. She was just like, no, we're going to work through this. We're going to work through this. And I don't want to work through this. I want to be single. You obviously want to be single too. So when I would go out, when we come to the point in both of our heads that the relationship was over, I would go out to the clubs with my friends, and they were like, we'll just give fake names. So that way, you know, nobody ever crosses paths. And I was like, all right, cool, I can get down with that. And Montana was just like the most wildest thing I could think of. Really big black guy. What's your name? Montana. They're like, what? But it was easy to remember. So that whole thing. So then when the relationship ended, I was like, oh, well, I like the name. And I was just starting to get like my foot in the door as far as to where to train at and stuff like that. And I bounced it off of my trainer's head, and he's not going to remember. It's George. George's like, I'm calling you T-Rex, buddy. That's what you're going to be, is T-Rex. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I bounced it off of like Sad and Caleb, and they were like, that works. We might want to find something else later down the line, but I think that's good. And it just kind of stuck from there. It was an interesting way to get the name, but I liked it. It fits in my opinion. So
yeah, I agree. I agree. So let me tell you a story about when I was playing intramural basketball at Augusta State. We had a pretty good team, but it seems like every week we played this team, there was a guy on the team, his name's Jimmy. He was really good. We started calling him Jimmy 10 Teams because every team we played, he was on that team.
all right.
So let's talk about how many teams you're on right now. All right?
I saw where that was going as soon as you said it too.
We got the Syndicate, which is mostly PWX.
Right.
Grit, which is a fest group.
Kind of. So it's me and Boss at Grit is where we debuted Grit,
Okay.
but we are actually taking bookings everywhere outside of
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Fest. But yeah, it was originated in Fest, yeah.
Okay. You got Game Over, which is a Chester APW team.
That's correct, yes.
And tonight you're teaming with Jacoby Boykins.
There's
You
no name
guys
for
don't
that.
have a name for that
No,
yet.
there's Boykins and Black, I guess.
Boykins and Black, okay.
Black Boykins.
All right. So, are there any that I left out?
I mean, well, you've got the two past groups of the Power, which you're rocking the shirt. I got the red shirt, which is the final incantation of that was myself, Big Time Ya, Bobby Valentine, and Ian Maxwell.
Okay.
But the original group was actually started off as three with Big Time Ya, Movie Mike, and Ian.
Okay.
And then I got added in as I came, and then Bobby started training shortly after I did. He got added in. So it was a 5-man group. Mike went on to do some solo stuff. He wanted to be an individual.
So y'all kicked Mike out the group?
No, he left. His star was too big for us, so he left.
Is this like the New Edition story? Is he Bobby Brown?
He's a Bobby Brown of the group, yeah. We're just like what was left over. We're like he's like David Ruffin, and we're like the Temptations trying to find Dennis after David left. So you know, but I mean it worked out because he came into his own, and then we started coming to our own, and that eventually split. Ya wanted to go and like try and make a name for himself. In his words, he said he felt like he wasn't pulling his weight on his own, so he wanted to go make a name for himself and then maybe come back together later. Mm-hmm. And out of that spawned another group where Andre Gunn and KL3 Savage came and joined, and we made the Top Shelf Guys. And
Tough guys.
it literally lasted for like a match, and then after that, we
I think
were
you
all
mentioned that to me
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, do you think that these other guys that travel around see you show up on a different team and feel like we did when we saw Jimmy 10 teams? Like, didn't we just wrestle this guy? This guy's not in the group here.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It also probably doesn't help that a lot of those factions involve myself and somebody else who's close to my size. Like, so you got Boss,
Right.
and then you got Jacoby,
Right.
and then Ya's not a small guy either.
Nope.
So, like, you kind of look like, how many big guys can you
Right.
find for one person? So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were thinking the same thing. Like,
Okay.
how many teams do you have?
All right. So, you and I talked maybe a week ago about this documentary on YouTube,
Oh,
Entering
yeah.
the Ring.
Yeah.
And you were featured in that. You were injured at the time. But there were a few things that I learned from there. And I wanted you to tell the story about driving down to the WWE Performance Center
Oh,
the
okay.
week of Christmas or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a funny story.
Yeah, so me and my roommate, former roommate, we started training at the same time, and he was actually supposed to be the sixth member of the Power,
Oh.
but he never. I had his first and his last match, his first match and his second match, and then he stopped. So, so me and him, before we knew how to get our foot in the door at all, like in wrestling, I didn't know where to go for school. We're looking up schools. We found high spots, but online it said Rings Wrestling Academy, and when you got online, it just really didn't kind of look like it led anywhere. I called up to the office, like, hey, you can come in. We came and sat there for an hour and just was like, no, this isn't it. And I was like, hey man, let's just try something wild. Let's just hop in the car and go down to the Performance Center and just open. And so he was like, I'm big. And he was big too, size-wise. He was shorter, but he was a wider guy. And I was like, you know, you always hear stories all the time about, oh, yeah, we saw him and we knew we had to have him immediately. And I was like, we got it. We just go down there and hopefully somebody will see us, or at least they can point us in the right direction.
Right.
So we hopped in the car at I think 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and drove from Charlotte, North Carolina down to Orlando. It was an 8-hour drive. He slept the whole way, which, as I later found out in wrestling, is like the cardinal rule that you don't want to break sleeping on road trips.
Right.
We drove down there. It was a Saturday. It was Christmas weekend. And we pulled up, parking lot's empty, and I'm like, okay, well, it's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. We can wait for a little bit. So I drove through the night, so I was like, I'm going to catch some sleep. You let me know if somebody comes. And we sat in the parking lot for 3.5, almost 4 hours. And finally, Tyson Kidd showed up.
Okay.
And I got out the car and said, hey, is anybody there? And he just kind of looked at me and was like, you know it's Christmas weekend, right? And I was like, yeah, I guess we didn't really think about that. Because you always hear stories of wrestlers are on the road 365 days. So I just assumed the people at the Performance Center were there 365 days.
Right.
So we go down there and it was, some would say, oh, it was for nothing. But it really kind of pushed me and motivated me all right, well, now I know this is an actual physical place that I want to be at some point in time in my career. And it just kind of made me go after finding somewhere to train even harder from there. So we drove back with the drive of shame. Everybody talks about the walk of shame. We drove back 8 hours with the drive of shame, and he slept the whole way back too.
Right.
And but it was an interesting experience. Never got to go inside. To this day, still haven't been inside, and maybe one day it'll change. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So speaking of the training thing, on that documentary, you mentioned contacting Jay Lethal,
Yeah.
who recommended George South High Spots,
Right.
and that is where you ended up getting trained, correct?
Exactly. So the same gentleman that was in the car with my roommate, me and him were, like I said, we were spinning wheels about where to train. We had checked out CWF Mid-Atlantic was the school that we were looking at, but it was just it's an hour and a half, hour 45 away. They train on Sundays. We're big churchgoers, so I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that right now, but we'll make it work if need be. And he was like, well, I'll message some people and see. We didn't expect to get any responses for some of these guys,
Sure.
legit. And he was like, yo, I messaged Lethal yesterday, and I was like, why? He's in Florida. I'm not driving to Florida for training if we live in, if we move, that's fine, but
Right.
that's not going to work. And he was like, I was just seeing if he knows anybody. And he, it took a couple of days, but he came to me, after work and was like, hey, Lethal responded. He said, check out High Spots. And I was like, isn't that the place we checked out last year, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, all right, we'll go give it another look. Maybe we didn't give it a fair shake the first time.
Right.
And we went and sat in on a train with George, who Really like stood out to me the second go round as to the first time, whereas there were a lot of people who were there the first go round, and George was talking a lot, and I'm looking for like, oh, what moves you gonna learn? And you see stuff online, flips and suplexes and all this other stuff, and George is talking, so I'm like, this is cool, but I wanna, like, people talk to me all the time, I wanna wrestle, so.
Right.
Second time really made a really good impression, and he talked a lot the second time as well, but the stuff he was saying clicked so much more for me that go round, and I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe this is the spot. So we stayed throughout the whole training. Mike was actually, Movie Mike was training, Ya and Ian, all of them were there at the time. And George got out of the ring after training and came and talked to us. And like, I told him, I said, hey, I'm starting, like, I'm definitely doing it.
You were sold at that
I was sold at that point, and he was like, well, we'll look forward to having you. I think George gets so many people that say that you kind of just brush it off. But when we came and watched 3 weeks in a row. The fourth week we took off because I got off of work late. And then week 5, I started training, and it was done deal from there. So.
All right. Well, you mentioned also in that documentary about the possibility of a career going a different route into music.
Right.
You mentioned that's kind of like the family business.
It
Tell
is.
us a little bit about that. Nate's a music guy.
Oh,
I'm sure he'd love to hear. He's actually toured and sung in churches and things. So.
Nice. Okay. So it starts with my grandmother. Well, at least that's as far back as I can date it. It's probably further than her. But so my grandmother, she was friends with like a lot of gospel like singers like Albertina Walker and Gladys Knight before she really got going as far as like into mainstream outside of gospel singing. And so she started it, and then she passed it on to my mom. My grandma, she did music. She played piano as well. She sung. My uncle, her son, was a drummer, and he also sang and ended up singing in a branch off of the Temptations over in Japan after, like, in the early mid-90s when they were touring overseas. And then my mom, she sung backup for Earth, Wind & Fire. Yeah, it's kind of like all over the place. So she did it, and then she had the music. My dad was in a quartet, like barbershop quartet growing up, and sang bass, and then passed that on to us. So then, like, I'm the youngest of 4, and my oldest brother was a rapper who was a very good lyricist. He wrote a lot of songs. My sister sings for Elevation Church up in North Carolina on their praise team. She also sang backup for Shania Twain in high school. The whole choir did, and Shania had her sing a solo. And then my brother, he does piano. He's like, my brother, Percy, is like a jack of all trades when it comes to music. He always used to like, I used to get real jealous of him growing up because it was like he could see an instrument and have never touched it before, and in 5 minutes he could play it.
Wow.
It was just like ridiculous. Like both me and him were both in band, and I was just like, I'm gonna just play the flute, and the whole reason was just like, there's not a lot of guys playing flute. There's a bunch of girls, and I want to be around the girls. So I was like, that seemed like
Logic, man.
yeah, it seemed like a good decision, right? But he chose the flute because he was like, well, this will be easy because we can both motivate each other, and then I can kind of help teach you if you're getting stuck on stuff. And I was like, all right, makes sense to us. But then he branched off into piano and drums and trumpet and trombone and just kept picking up stuff. And now, so he plays for the church that we went to growing up. He plays for them full time, and he's a music director over there. But he also sang at the Johnson C. Smith University Choir, and he was the choir president there. So me, I did some singing, but I was more like my older brother. I was like, I can write stuff, so I'm just gonna stick with the rap prospect. So me and a couple friends recorded some songs in the studio and started looking to get like full time into music. But I realized I was doing more of the work than they were. Like, I'm sitting here booking the studio appointments, and I'm trying to find us gigs. And then when we go to the studio to record, I've already got my verses written out, and they're in the studio trying to write their verses before it's time to record. And we're just kind of like wasting a whole lot of time prepping. And I was like, man, guys, if we're not going to all put the same amount of effort into it, I don't want to go into this with you guys. After that split, I was kind of like, I need to find something that I want to do, because I kind of just did music because my family was doing it. That's like what I was saying in the documentary was everybody in my family was like music. And so in my head, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do music.
Right.
And I realized like I love music. I like writing music. I like being a part of music, but music is not something that would make me happy career-wise. And even if I was successful in it 10 years down the line, would look back and be like, this is not what I wanted to do in my life.
Right.
And I would feel unfulfilled, and who knows what that could lead into. That's a whole downhill spiral from there. So,
Right.
yeah.
One thing that really stuck with me that you said in the documentary, and I'm sure they're asking about how far you want to go or whatever like that. You said, and I quote, "Your career is what you make it." Basically, you get back out what you put in.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that what you would tell someone who's trying to get in the business now?
That's exactly what I would say.
Yeah.
So everybody likes to define, like, oh, I want to make it to WWE as the final. And getting into wrestling, that's where I wanted to be. Like, I didn't know a lot about the indies starting off. WWE was really the only thing I watched prior to me getting into wrestling. And as I got into it, this whole new world opened up of like other different possibilities. And that was one of the things so this is a little insight going into why I picked Hot Spots over the other schools that I was looking at, so when I went to CWF, and this is no knock towards them because I love that place and I love the guys that are there and I love the guy that's over it. But the first thing he said to me was, you probably aren't going to make a lot of money in wrestling because wrestling's not a very lucrative business. So it was very like, shoot down your dreams immediately as you come through the door. And I was like, man, that's not really how I live my life. I'm very optimistic. Like, even when everything's going downhill, I'll try and be as positive as possible. And then I went to Hot Spots, and when George got out of the ring and talked to us after training that second go round, he asked me, he's like, what's your goal? And I was like, honestly, I'd like to make it to WWE. And George was like, okay, that's a possibility. You could do that. But just know that there's a lot of money to be made outside of WWE.
Right.
So even if you don't make it, you can still be a success in wrestling. And I was like, cool. So that stuck with me from day one. So yeah, if I had to talk to someone there, like, what's the advice that you could get? Like, don't define your career off of contracts. Oh, I got signed here, or oh, I didn't get signed here. Like, that doesn't make you successful. You get out of it what you put into it, and eventually the work's going to show. Like, the phrase, everything done in the dark comes to light. So if you're working hard and grinding and putting everything you have in the dark, like when nobody can see you, eventually it's going to come out in front of everybody and it'll show. And you're going to make it to a level that you're probably not even expecting to make it. It may not be WWE or New Japan or AEW as they're starting to get the wheels going there, but doesn't mean you can't be a big internet sensation. Doesn't mean you can't make thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars on the indies, or even spawn another career off of wrestling that you never thought could happen. So there's so much that could come from it. So yeah, that's probably the only advice I'd give him, and to stop talking so much, to shut up and listen. Yeah.
Right. That's what I hear for pretty much all the new guys, the veterans say, just keep your mouth shut and absorb this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you want to improve on this year.
Okay, that's a loaded question.
Well, let me say this. Most of the time that I had seen you work previously, you weren't saying much.
Right.
You have an imposing presence, your big size and everything. There's no need for you necessarily to get on the microphone. But the promo you cut for this show today, I messaged you about it, I commented about it. It was one of the best promos I'd seen. So I'm not saying you need to improve on that more. I'd like to see more of that from you, obviously, because that creates the character that you want to be. But I think some of it is simply allowing you opportunities to do some of those things.
Right. So late 2018, I kind of had a conversation with myself where I was like, I'm not getting a lot of time to really show my character or what it is I'm trying to get across. And there's so many different avenues to the character that nobody really even knows about yet because I haven't had a chance to really display that. Mm-hmm. So the goal for me was, all right, if I'm not going to get mic time at shows and they're not going to put me in programs for a lot of places. He's just a big guy. A lot of times people just want to see you throw people around. Like, we don't want to put you in a program. Just go out there and beat the crap out of somebody.
Clear the ring.
Right. So in my head, I was like, all right, well, if they're not going to give me opportunities, I have to create opportunities. So there was a program towards the end of the year that wasn't supposed to be a program at all. It just turned into one where I went to an open invitational for a show that I was on the main roster for, and it was a student show. And they were like, hey, anybody that wants to be in it can be in it. And I was, all right, cool, I'm going to get in it. And me and Stuart Snodgrass, a guy that's coming up pretty popular, had a spot where I gave him a wedgie in the middle of a battle royal and then eliminated him.
I was there.
Yeah, you saw that. So we did that, and then afterward, he got up and held my foot, trying to help me be eliminated by someone else. And me and him talked about it a couple days later. He's like, yeah, I really, really hate wedgies. That's part of my thing. Like, I'm a nerd. People want to give nerds wedgies. Like, I'm against wedgies. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, bet. Couple weeks later, I cut just a random character promo. Just me kidnapping people, which by all means should get me arrested everywhere. Like, but I was like, let's do it. I'm like going on this horror kick with my character where I really want to start inciting fear in some people. So let's kidnap people. So I literally stuck up behind 3 guys who are very vocal online against me, and just like snatching them up in videos for no reason, no program plan or nothing like that.
Right.
And in one of the videos, Stuart commented on it. And I was like, oh, now I got something to work with.
There you go.
So me and Stuart created a whole program based off of something that was supposed to be nothing. It led to a match where people wanted to see, and then it got really uncomfortable shortly thereafter with a very interesting spot that I have now adapted into a lot of my matches of the rapid fire chops when the person has nowhere to go.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I love it so much. And it made a family uncomfortable. Like a whole family left that first time. They got up, they just got up and walked out, and I was like, oh, that's what I wanted. Like, everybody kept talking to me before, what do you have planned with Stuart? I just want to make somebody uncomfortable. That's all I said. And mission accomplished. And so now we're here for 2019, I guess the biggest goal is just to really get the character across to all the avenues that I want to get it explained to. And that's not going to be on any promotion to do or any program. It's going to be on me to get it across. And so that's what I'm going to do. And then I really want to be out on the West Coast at some point in time. That's what I want to improve on. So like, I want to improve on getting out of the like southern eastern area of the United States.
Right.
I want to get my name out there. There's a lot of big guys on wrestling who do a lot of small guy stuff, and I don't want to be a big guy who does small guy things. I want to be a big guy who does big guy things.
Right.
I want to throw people. I want to hit people hard. I want to just murder.
I think you're winning Nate's heart.
That's
right
perfect
now.
segment, right? Yeah, it's like this. So I wanted to ask you that because I kind of asked you that briefly one time we were talking here several months ago. And there's I see a lot of pressure a lot of times the big guys to do. Everybody does flips, so you should do a flip too, even though you're working with big men stuff. Do you feel much of that pressure to do that kind of style?
Honestly, I do. Like, it happens sometimes because, I mean, you see guys who, and I'll use Ya as an example because, like I said, Ya's not a smaller guy.
Right.
Ya's just like a freak of nature. Like, he can do anything he puts his mind to inside of the ring. It's effortlessly. It's ridiculous. So, Ya, when I first started, Ya was like 190, maybe going on 200 pounds. He's a smaller dude, but then he blew up to like 260, 270, 280, and then he's still clearing the top rope like it's nothing.
Yep.
Like, no hands, just up and over. And can land on his feet if he wants to. And I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
So then when you're in the ring with him, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's over the top rope. I'm like, you know what? If I really wanted to, I could dive too. So the pressure's there, but then I'm like, one, that takes away from the specialness of him, because I'm over him by like 40, 50 pounds. He does a tope over the top rope, and then I come behind him and do one. It makes his less special. And this is like a partnership. My goal is, me being bigger, you're not going to see me on the mat very much. So I got to give my opponent something to make people care about them a whole lot more. So if that's one of his things, I can dive over the top rope in a match against me where I'm not going to bump much. Why would I dive over and take away from what he's going to do?
Makes it look a lot less special.
Right, exactly. And then secondly, every big man dives now. Like, some of them try to dive and get their belly stuck on the top rope, no names. And then some of them actually do it, and it's just to the point now where, okay, that's cool, but when is there going to be a big guy who just does big guy stuff? Like, just manhandles people. And so that's where I'm going.
And I love seeing that because being a bigger guy, me and Joe have talked about this before. Like, if indie wrestling, if we were aware of it, like the internet, aware, like, schools and stuff like this 20 years ago, I'd have been all over it. But I would love to have done it. But back then, it's like, talking early 90s, mid 90s, and it just wasn't available to us at the time. So I kind of lived vicariously through you and other big men. We do that big man style. I was like, that's what I'll be doing, the grabbing the suplex and the slam and stuff. That was my style. So I really appreciate that. So it's good to see you not going to do the other thing. So yeah, I was curious if that impression was there. You see people like James Strait. They do all this stuff, like, moonsaults and stuff, and it's cool looking, but it's like, you don't really have to do that if you don't want to. But
Drake's another freak too. He's brutal. I like James. Like, so Drake was the first big guy on the Indies I got to see, and he just beat the crap out of King Shane, and I was like, oh, I love it. I love every minute of it. So it was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave that stuff to them. Plus, my niece probably appreciate it a little bit better too.
Probably
so
so.
yeah.
You want to ask the over the top?
Yeah. Okay, so we have a feature called Over the Top Rope, where we go to our previous person we interviewed and say, okay, we're talking to so and so this interview. What's a question you have for them? So, last episode we had Savannah Evans on the show.
Oh, okay.
And so our question for you is, what is your favorite sitcom from the 1990s?
From the 90s, Boy Meets World, easily. I don't even have to think about it. Boy Meets World. Everybody was all like Fresh Prince, and I love Fresh Prince.
Right.
I love Fresh Prince. I love Family Matters. But Boy Meets World was, first I fell in love with Topanga. Let's just clear that up. I love Topanga. I know she's married. I know. Yeah. She's married now. She made a mistake, but it is what it is. Me and her can hash that out later. But something about Boy Meets World was like, it was different for me. Like, the characters were good. Like, you saw more progression through characters, and then you see them in other sitcoms too. But Corey Matthews was like just a kid that was like struggling through like fitting in. Like, whereas other characters, main characters of shows, like if you look at Fresh Prince, he didn't have a problem fitting in. He was just trying to be himself where he was at, which I was very comfortable with already. Like, I was a weird kid growing up, and I didn't care that anybody knew it. Like, Corey was like a normal kid that nobody cared about, and like by all means should not have been the star of the show. But he was the show. The show was based around him and his life, how he progressed as a person. And something about that kind of spoke to me. Plus, my parents, like I said, were really strict growing up because we were a church family. So I didn't get a chance to watch Fresh Prince all the time because there was a lot of cussing. So you hear cuss words and I turn this mess off.
What are you watching?
Right. So that was more family friendly. I got to stick to it. Family Matters I didn't really relate to because they didn't really act very well in my opinion. Like, the actual acting was kind of bad. Storylines were good. I loved it. But Boy Meets World was just like thorough through me, like all the way through. Fresh Prince is very close seconds. If we had to break it up into, and I don't like making things race things, but if we had to break up the black and white sitcoms, you got Fresh Prince and Boy Meets World. But Boy Meets World, I watched that over and over again, like consistently, until Yah introduced me to How I Met Your Mother, and I watched How I Met Your Mother over and over again. Yeah, so I would have to say Boy Meets World would probably be number one. Yeah, definitely.
Now, have you seen the reboot
Girl Meets World? So I saw the first season of it, and it actually was pretty good for remake as far as remakes go or reboots. I didn't go any further than the first season. And it wasn't like I lost interest. It came out around the time I was starting to train. So my focus was all wrestling, and then like I said, I wasn't very big on the world of indie wrestling prior to me training, so literally all my free time I was just trying to get indie wrestling under, like, what's the style that is popular right now for indie wrestling and what's getting the crowds into people's matches and things. So I was trying to become a student of the indie wrestling game, and I kind of just fell off with like regular TV shows.
There goes your free time.
Right, exactly. And then what other little free time I had like was video games and eating. Yeah, so
all about that.
Right,
So let's talk about another segment of entertainment, and there may be some people in the room that want to hear this. Who is the king of R&B?
Haha, Jacquees.
Okay.
All right, it's
now,
Jacquees.
First of all,
we're gonna break this down. We're gonna break this down too.
The first time I heard you say this, I think I messaged you.
Right, you
and
did.
said, you never heard of Bobby Brown, and what about
I heard
old
all
school
of them.
Marvin Gaye?
I heard all of them.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
so-
what is your basis for this?
Let me clarify the statement, right? So the original statement that threw everybody into a fit about Jacquees was he came out and said, "I am the king of R&B for this generation," which I sat down and I thought about it and I was like, all right, let's check this out. You know, someone makes a claim like that, you're like, oh, that's wild. All right. Then I thought about it. Like, who is this generation's music? So you got like Chris Brown's and the Neos, and like Usher, and you think, oh, they're easily the kings of R&B, but then when you really look at their work, they're not R&B, they're pop. They started off R&B, but slowly they started realizing I can make more money if I branch into other genres, as opposed to sticking to this one genre. So then when you look at who's the king of R&B for this generation, and who are the contestants or the contenders for being the king of R&B, there's really just only one person in R&B, and that's Jacquees. Now, people will say oh, well, he doesn't have any songs of his own, and that's false. He has 2-3 albums of his own. But he gets more traction getting people angry by doing covers and remixes of other people's songs, or as he calls them, queen-mixes, than he does from his own music. And not that his own music isn't good, it's just it doesn't have that big marketing machine behind it to get it out there. So
what you're saying is you're serious about this. I mean, I just want to make this clear.
you want to make it very clear,
Yeah.
very clear. If we have to go on record,
All right, here we go.
final say, right? Am I serious?
Getting exposed.
I'm not serious about this.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I
We can continue the interview.
I like trolling people. It's fun for me. So I mean, you get a lot of fans who troll on the internet. So it's fun when I get the chance
Okay.
to troll. But I will say one thing I'm not trolling about is
No.
the godfather
No.
of hip hop is Big Draco Soulja Boy. That is not a troll. That is facts.
The Godfather of rap, I think, is what
Rap,
you call
yeah.
Soulja Boy.
Soulja Boy, the godfather of rap. And you gotta think about it.
I don't need to think about
He
it.
broke it down. I'm gonna break it down to you the same way he broke it down in his interview. All right. A lot of these guys who are top names in rap now, as far as like the current music that's going on, all of them started with Soulja Boy. They were either sleeping at his house, or he gave them contacts or connects in the industry, or he did a song with them on YouTube. And then he also broke down the whole YouTube thing. Like YouTube music from YouTube was big after Soulja Boy did it, and he got crucified for it. Like, oh, this guy's just a YouTube rapper. But now everybody's using YouTube. We don't even have music videos on TV anymore. Everything's all through YouTube when it comes to music and streaming, which is what he did. I'm not saying he's the best rapper out there or even the best guy in hip hop. He's not by far. He's not even my favorite rapper.
Okay.
But he made valid points as to being the godfather, someone who is ushering other people into the hip hop and rap industry. And then, you got the big claims of like Drake taking a couple of lines from time to time. And I mean, you ask me who the biggest name in rap and hip hop is for this generation, I'd say Drake easily.
Okay.
And he's a better lyricist than Soulja Boy is,
Okay.
even if he doesn't write his own songs, but he's still a better lyricist with other people's lyrics. So,
But overall, getting rap to a point of success, you think him and not Russell Simmons?
oh, Russell Simmons is all time. He's
Okay.
he's the father of rap.
All right,
So I'll give him the
I'm
father.
good with that. All
It's
right.
the godfather. Like this is not my kid,
Yeah.
but I still take kind of responsibility for
Okay.
that type of things. Like I got godchildren. I don't have any kids of my own, so
Right.
Like I'm responsible for them from time to time. But at any point in time, I can give back to their parents and be like, all right, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go back to the wrestling world. You've been training and working for several years now. If with all your knowledge and experience today, you could have your debut match with someone that's on the scene now, not somebody in WWE, somebody in the Southeast that we would know, who would you want your first match to be against and why?
Oh, that's a good one. First match, Southeast on the scene. I'm gonna stick with James Drake.
Okay, why is that?
And the reason being, because so my first match was against a guy who never had his first match.
Mhm.
So you got two guys who don't know what they're doing.
Right, you don't want that.
Right. It was not good.
Right.
It was good in the sense of his family saw me beat the crap out of him, which was very fun for me. But overall, it was just a bad match. But it's your first match, it's kind of expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
James Drake is someone who can take someone who's not good at having matches at all and bring a 4 to 5 star match out of them. I feel like he would know what I was capable of and what I wasn't capable of, what to do and what not to do. And I feel like he would be able to coach me into, one, getting whatever my character was for the first match over,
Right.
and making it believable that it was like an actual fight as opposed to just two guys running through moves. So
Got you.
I feel like he's a good leader in
No
that sense.
doubt.
Very good ring general. So I would say James Drake. I feel like that would be a good start. And anybody that see that match could probably be like, man, this kid's got a great future, and it would be nothing on me.
Right.
It'd be all
Right.
on James Drake. So
Right.
yeah, that would be my pick.
That's a good one. You agree with that one?
Yeah, one of my favorites, yeah, definitely.
For sure.
I can see that, yeah.
You want to ask Cody's question there?
Sure. All right, so Tracer X has a cereal box you got for a gift.
Yeah.
It's Kellogg's, right?
Frosted Flakes.
Frosted
Frosted Flakes, okay.
Yeah. So it has them on the cover. So, Wheaties has always been well known for having athletes on their cover.
Right.
So if you had a cereal box...
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay.
Immediately.
That's-
All right.
You don't even have to ask that question.
Okay.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Is that one of your favorites?
Very all-time favorite. Very much so. If I wasn't trying to keep my blood pressure and cholesterol and everything down, I'd eat every day. And if one day I would like to have, maybe like a 4-pack at some point in time. So that's not conducive to doing that. So,
Right, not so much.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite cereals too. That's,
See, yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
they got some stuff in
Yeah,
common.
y'all do. Y'all do. So we're going to get into the hot tag. This is something where we're going to throw out a name or a group, and Nate's going to actually do this for you. And we want you to respond first thing that comes to your mind. Doesn't have to be like word association, like simple one words. Nate calls it the Twitter answer.
Yeah,
Get me in
You know,
trouble.
just quick and
boy.
short. No, he's not to throw anybody under the bus.
All right, okay.
Most of these folks are friends of yours, so
Okay, that's better. All right.
we're not about exposing dirt on this show.
Okay, cool stuff. All right.
Nate, go ahead.
All right, first time I saw you with a group called the Syndicate.
Syndicate. First word is what we're doing, right? Word association? Or not word association, first
If
thought
you
that
want
comes
to
to
do that,
mind.
you can, but just
Short
first-
answer.
Short answer, okay. It's a group of guys who wasn't really getting a lot of opportunities places, so they're making opportunity for themselves.
Okay. Grit.
Grit. Too big. Wait, do y'all cuss on this show?
Try not
We
to.
try
Try
not
not
to. Try
to.
to go PG.
Try to let our kids watch it.
Two big suckers who just really want to hurt people. That's
All right.
yeah.
Now, is Grit an acronym for something?
Yes, guys raised and guys remembered in time.
Okay.
It's a play off of artist Big Crit, who's a king remembered in time. So
Okay.
took the G, replaced it, or
Gotcha.
replaced the K with a G.
All right. TJ Boss.
TJ Boss, underrated, completely underrated. He's a guy who. So when we got paired up as a syndicate, it was originally me, Bobby Valentine, and Elijah Evans. Bobby got injured, had to get surgery, so we need a replacement. They grabbed Boss because it was like he can show you how to be a big man. And of course, ego-wise, I was like, never heard of this guy. And then I seen him in the ring, and I was like, yeah, that's the guy right there. And like, he got sidetracked last year because of injury, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like he doesn't get as many opportunities as I feel like he should get. Man's really good, really good. So I'll give him underrated. That'd be the best thing I could say about it.
The Tommy Thomas.
Oh, greatest wrestling manager ever. On the indies, because obviously I gotta go with Bobby Brain Heenan and Paul Heyman. But if I had to pick an indie manager, it's Tommy. And I love, and don't get me wrong, there's guys like Stokely Hathaway who I look up to and respect. But I work personally with Tommy, and I feel like he's one of those guys, people don't see what he does behind the scenes. Tommy's like, you know, a lot of people are managers, and they just are like, oh, I'm a manager whenever the bell rings. Tommy's a manager when people don't see it. He's gotten me so many bookings, just like, hey, I got this booking for you. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know you were doing that.
Okay.
Great manager. Best manager of all time.
Darius Lockhart.
He's trash. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I love Darius. Darius is a guy, so short answer, as short as possible. When I first saw Darius, when I first started training hot spots, Darius was in school, so I didn't see him right off gate. So he came in and I was like, who's this guy? Like, and we got called together for a spot, and I was like, oh man, it's, you know, he knows what he's doing. I thought he was new, so I thought I was like a vet to him. And then he was actually a vet to me by like a year or 2 or 3 possibly. Darius is like the future of professional wrestling in my opinion. The absolute future. Like every time I see him, he progresses. Like even if like I've watched him every day, he seems to learn something or do something new out of nowhere. And I'm just like, oh, where'd you know that? He's very technical too. A lot of people don't get to see it as much, and now he's starting to bring it out more, but he's very technical. Great guy. He's the future of wrestling. I give him that.
He seems very diverse. That's why I like watching
Very much
matches.
so. Very much so.
Doing so.
If he ever punches me again, we're gonna have an issue. But yeah.
All right, one of the guys in your shirt, Ian Maxwell.
Ian. All right. So spent a lot of time with Ian. Ian is super athletic. He can eat whatever the heck he wants and still have abs, which makes me really upset. Ian is one of those guys that people will watch and they may not connect with him right off gate. But the more you watch him, the more you want to root for him, the better he comes off. He's like an acquired taste sometimes. And it's not that he's not good, because he's great, in my opinion. It's just some of the stuff he does is so innovative that you may not realize you like it right off gate. And then you see it again the second time, like, oh, and then next thing you know, the third time, you're like, oh, snap, that was fire. And you don't realize you've seen it before. So he grows on you. Unlike his hair, because he's bald. So, but yeah, no, he's good. Ian's real good. He's got a lot of potential for the future. He can get the ball and run with it in a promotion, and it'll take him off so many places. So, yeah, I like Ian.
New member of the syndicate, Savannah Evans.
So we got personal beef with Savannah because she's beating like every guy that trains at high spots in a match, except for me. She ain't beat me yet, and it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
But she, if I'm being honest, is the top female wrestler out of North Carolina in a really long time. You take Tessa out of the picture because she's moved now, and Ariel's moved, and Savannah just took over after they left. And it's to the point now where like if a promoter hits her up and it's like, hey, you have a girl you can bring with you. She has so many people in wrestling, females in North Carolina, she can bring with her, but she can bring people through a good match. She's like starting to come into her own now, and I'm starting to like it. Like she's being a lot more aggressive than what she was, and she's starting to be more of a ring general as opposed to just, well, you tell me what you want to do and all. So she's starting to come into her own. So she's got a big upside, like as far as with the future. She's very like, people take to her naturally too. I don't think people really want to boo her with us. Like she's with us in the syndicate, and they boo her because she's with us. But there's kind of like a boo, yeah, go ahead, beat her like type thing. Savannah's cool. She's cool people. She's not gonna beat me though. So.
You'll sandbag her if she tries to.
Oh yeah, if she's gonna lift me, she's gonna have to do it herself. She's all to it.
So help.
All right, so now we're going to get into the 10 count, and I'm going to ask the first 5, Nate's going to ask the last 5. And with these questions, it's questions that we can ask almost anyone, even some are non-wrestling questions. So I'm going to start you off with pick a superpower.
Alright, so superpower. I fly. I'm tired of driving in cars to these shows, man. I tell you, I got a booking in California. Don't worry about flight. Just put it in my pay. I'll get out there myself. That'd be great.
All right, number 2, who's the GOAT?
Of wrestling?
Yeah.
Is this all time or currently?
You tell
All
me.
time.
All time. Oh man. So this is gonna be an unpopular opinion possibly, but I'm going Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Simply because he has reinvented himself so many times to make him relevant
No
throughout
doubt
the
about
years.
that.
So I mean, if you do that and dude was just having a very relevant rivalry on WWE like 2 years ago. Made himself like one of the people that everybody came to see again.
Right.
Left, shows up in New Japan, makes a big splash there, keeps showing up. So repetition. So if someone keeps like running in and attacking people from behind, then usually you're gonna start getting bored with that if it's the same guy. Every time he attacks somebody, everybody's excited about it.
Big news every time.
Very big news every single time. Not everybody can do that. And then now he's with AEW, signed and making it a even bigger deal than what it already was.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd have to go with Jericho, GOAT of all time. And then he's, like, I love his in-ring work. And his resume speaks for himself.
Sure.
So,
You said current, so who's the current guy then?
Current
'Cause
guy.
he's still working, you know?
Yeah, he is still working. So I guess he could fall for current. I don't even know if I have a GOAT, like, the best right now. To be honest with you, you have guys like I could be biased and say that Cedric is the best wrestler in the world because I trained with him and I was in his wedding and we're real good friends, and he's great in the ring. He is like people in WWE don't get to see it as much because they're on 205
Right.
and they're limited on time and things like that. But I'm just thinking like how he was right before he got signed on the Indies, and he was just every single match was killing it. I'd have to give it between him. I'll give you a top 3 for current. All right, in my opinion.
Okay.
Give it him, Ricochet, and charisma-wise, Velveteen Dream.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We talked a lot about music today. What's your road trip playlist looking like?
Oh, it's all over the place. It's like, oh man. So what do we want? Like songs or?
Artist songs?
Artist
What'd you
songs.
listen to on the way here?
Well, on the way here, we actually played a road trip game as opposed to listening to music. There was music playing in the background, but you couldn't really hear it. But I can tell you what's on the playlist. So we got a lot of Outkast. So I'm a big Outkast guy. We've got Journey, because George is a big Journey guy, and I started listening to them shortly after I started training, and I like their music.
Okay.
Queen, there is some throwback NSYNC, because that was what I was around when they were out, and I still like their music. There's some Omarion from when he went solo, because that's a very underrated album that nobody really knows about. It's all over the place. I just rock, hip hop, R&B, everything but country, because I don't listen to country music.
Good
I'm
mix.
with you on that.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, envy question. So our last guest was Savannah Evans. If you could take one thing from Savannah, what would it be?
all her championships.
All her titles.
Yeah, I want those belts,
She's
man.
got belts
She's
from like
got
3, 4.
She's got like 3 or 4 belts right now. She just keeps getting them. But aside from that, probably like her, like I said, her cult following, like people just take to her naturally. It could be because she's a girl. I don't think that's what it is. I think they see what everybody else sees, and that's the talent that's in her. So I take her following. Like she's got a real big following. And I'm like, well, I can take that. I'll be happy.
And my last one on the 10 count here is number 5. You got to lose one. And I'm going to say you either lose your training with George South or you lose all your little factions that you're in.
Now lose the factions.
So you got to have the training. That way you can still be Montana, right?
Yeah, there's so much that George has taught me in and outside of the ring. The factions are fun. I love them. I've created like relationships and brotherhoods with all those guys and even Savannah. But if they're not there, my career continues on the same trajectory. I still can go make a name for myself. Because a lot of people use factions because they need them. I'm in the factions because people put me there, not because I'm looking for factions to be there. So I don't need the factions. I love them all. And I love working with all of them. But I don't need them. George, I needed George. It's as simple as that. Mindset-wise, I needed George. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Nate?
So we talk a lot about music and high school life and doing music. And I'm saying I did band versus doing football, that kind of thing. So
Played football once. There's a funny story with that. Yeah.
So that's actually my question. Have you played any other sports?
Oh yeah, so football. Okay. Well, I played basketball too. That was a height thing. Even though I didn't really start sprouting up height wise till like right after I graduated from high school, but I was still taller than everybody else. It seemed like so. We'll go into the football story then real quick because it's very funny. It's a horrible story. It's the reason why you'll never see me in the NFL. So my coach was very inexperienced as a coach. I'm not going to say his name because he might be very experienced now at this point. And I don't want to discredit anything that he's doing. His philosophy is his first year coaching was, I'm not going to let you guys tackle in practice because I don't expect you to get tackled on the field. You guys are going to be so fast and so good that you're not going to get hit. And in my head, it sounded like a great theory because I never played football before. Yeah, it's a great theory. So we go out there, we play the first game, I played 2 games. Played the first game, I caught 1 pass, and then I was on the bench most of the rest of the game, but it was a great pass, ran out of bounds, never got hit, nothing like that. It's a whole bet. I would say, yeah, he was right, never going to get hit. Second game, catch a pass, run it in, get a touchdown. First touchdown, I'm like, oh man, this is it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be in the next big thing. Now, I weigh like 145 pounds at this point in time. I'm very small weight-wise. Second catch of the game, I catch it in the middle of the field, open, I don't see anybody. Next thing you know, I'm on the sideline. It's been like 8 to 10 minutes. I'm knocked out.
Oh, no.
And so I get up. What happened? You got hit. Oh, really? Took the helmet off, and I left. That was it.
Wow.
Walked right out. Yep, that was it. End of my football career right there. So, yeah, I played football. What's that? Coach pitch growing up. I did that, baseball. That was pretty much it. Basketball in high school. Yeah, that was it. Those were the only sports that I did growing up.
Okay.
Other than like, leisure sports. Oh, let's go here and do this. And it's bowl. I could be a professional bowler if I wanted to.
Could you?
Yeah.
Could you beat James Strait?
No.
That's good.
So,
Different level.
Yeah. So no matter how bad I am at something, I'm always going to talk like I'm the best. So I'll talk junk like I could beat James Strait.
You sound confident.
Oh, very, yeah. I'm going to take it to his limits. Nobody needs to know that. Yeah.
All right. This is a fun question to ask just because of all the options you can go with, but what's your go-to cookout order?
Cookout order? Oh, steak style burger tray with cheese, corn dog and chicken quesadilla on the side, and either a huge cheerwine with no ice or a cheerwine float for the drink.
Okay. See, I like the cheerwine because you don't get that everywhere.
Right, exactly.
But cookout has the good ice, though.
They got great ice, but I learned at maybe 12 or 13 that the ice, the soda in the fountain machine is already cold. The ice is just taking up space.
Okay.
So I love their ice.
Right.
But you get a full cup of soda.
Especially going out the door on the way out.
Exactly. Yeah. So now, if we're sitting in, I'll get some ice because I can just keep getting up and refilling. Right. But if we're going through the drive-thru, I'm like, yo, give me the huge cheerwine with no ice. And everybody else is sitting there sipping, and you hear the bottom of their cups, and I'm only like a fourth of the way down. I'm like, yeah, that's what y'all get. I told you how to get no ice.
So what is your dream match, dead and alive?
Dead and alive. Dead would be Macho Man Randy Savage. He's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Nice.
Alive dream match. So currently. So okay, so I got two. All right. One of them gonna merge technically. So I need a tag match with George and Sid because they're both two guys who trained me that I've never wrestled. So like a lot of the guys at High Spots got to wrestle George early on. Either he was their first match or in the first 10. And a lot of guys got Sid on his way out. So I didn't get a chance to get either one of those.
Okay.
So I've never been in the ring with, I was in the ring with George as his tag partner, but I never wrestled him. And then Sid, I never got to be in the ring or involved in a match with him at all. So that's the first match. Second match would be Keith Lee. I wanted to get him before he got signed so bad because he was like, Darius actually put me like, yo, you need to watch Keith Lee matches. And so I started watching his stuff and I just loved everything that he was doing. And I was like, man, that'd be such a fun match to have. And then I was like, oh, I'm starting to get some steam behind me now. Maybe I can get that Keith Lee match somewhere. And then you start hearing rumors, oh, he's going to get signed. And I was like, not before I get him. And then I didn't get him and he got signed. And I was like, oh, dang. Well, that's it there. So that would be my dream alive match would be Keith Lee. It'd be fun. I'd even let him throw me around a little bit. That'd be fun. I'd enjoy that.
All right, let's see that you're let's say we're at Waffle House, and you get challenged by three guys to go outside and fight.
Okay.
You can pick any two indie wrestlers to have your back in this fight. Who would it be?
Any two indie wrestlers that have my back in the fight?
Talking about legit street fight.
Street fight. So somebody's pointing I'm not choosing you.
Yeah, we have a small audience.
And here's so I don't know what he's going by right now. I'm just gonna say murder. Who knows? Because he just seems like he'll kill somebody.
I think you're right.
I don't think you know when to stop.
Right, exactly. That's on him. Like I can tell him, like, hey, we good. And if he keeps going, all right, you grown, you got that. All right. So he'd be one, so it's three guys,
You plus
two other
two, so
guys.
you got
Me
murder,
plus two. So I
you
got
one more.
Okay. So murder and Joe Black. Cause he just, man, I don't know what it is about Joe. He's got
an intimidating look.
Right. Like he's small.
He's not big.
He's not big at all.
He's a fireplace.
But if I saw Joe on the street and he was in a hoodie and just walking, I'd probably look at him twice before I walk by him. Like, okay. Joe seems like he hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe seems like he hurt somebody. Yeah. So yeah, Murder and Joe. And then they're cool, so they got a good camaraderie. I feel like they could do like some pretty cool back-to-back fighting, and I could just smash somebody's head in somewhere. Yeah, that'd be fine. I'd go with them. Yeah. All
right, last question for the 10 count. If you could change one thing in the pro wrestling business, what would it be? That's our genie in the bottle question.
One thing in pro wrestling. So me and Darius and Mike and Andre Gunn have these conversations. A lot of us, and all this. We got a little group chat that we talking in the Hot Spots guys. So we always talk about the money basis on pro wrestling. So to help with funds, I wish that I would change all the beef between promotions. There's more beef between promoters than there are between actual wrestlers.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. So I would change that because you get rid of that, these promoters can start working together more, which means more opportunities and more money for the workers. And then you get some of those dream matches that you want to see in the indies that you just aren't going to see because certain guys only work certain promotions and your promotion is not going to cross paths with them. So that would change. The egos, I guess, is what it all boils down to. The egos and the promoters, shoot the wrestlers too sometimes. Yeah,
that's good. We hadn't got that answer before. That's good. Yeah. All right. So people want to find you. Where can they find you? Your social media. Plug that. Contacting information.
So I made it real simple because everybody would ask that question and I'd have to try and remember what the names were. So Twitter and Instagram are the same. It's Montana Black Pro. No underscores. Everything is lowercase. Snapchat is for people I actually know, so I'm not giving that one out. Mm-hmm. And then Facebook, Montana Black, just straight. And I made it simple. My personal page and my fan page are both Montana Black. So if you send me a friend's request on my personal page and I don't actually know you, you're probably not going to get accepted. Mm-hmm. You may, because sometimes I'm just all right, accept, but it's a higher probability that I won't.
You got to keep that separate.
I do. And then it's with all the stuff going on, I'm trying to go back and look at stuff I was doing on social media prior to me getting into wrestling, and you hear all these stories about people who, they got a contract offer, and then people go back and find stuff they tweeted or put on Facebook back in like 2005 when they were like 8 years old.
Right.
And can't use them. So until I can, which I think I didn't really go too crazy on social media like that anyway, but until I can get it all cleared off, like it's just personal family and friends, and I'm trying to whittle it down to. Early on in Facebook, I'm gonna add everybody because I was like, I thought I was gonna be popular and I was gonna get all these girls, so I'm gonna add all these females on Facebook, and they all gonna want to talk to me and give me their number, and they didn't.
It didn't work out.
Yeah, it didn't work out. So now I got to clear them all off, and it's just taking forever. But so Montana Black on Facebook, Montana Black Pro on Twitter and Instagram, and then every now and then you might see a Montana Tinder profile pop up. That's me.
Well, I'm married, so I kind of stay off with that one.
Yeah, it's probably best.
It's probably so.
He's probably not looking for you anyway.
Right, yeah. You're not.
Yeah.
No offense.
Not taken.
Yeah.
All right, so our social media is at Suplexes Mics. We're Facebook, fb.com/suplexesmics, Instagram and Twitter. So give us a like and a follow. YouTube channel, tinyurl.com/suplexesmics. So Montana, man, appreciate you being on the show with us.
I got one more.
Yeah.
The YouTube. I forgot to do the YouTube thing.
Plug it.
So you got Montana Black on YouTube. You have WTC Wrestling, which stands for Wu-Tang Clan Wrestling, because early on a group of us were designated as the Wu-Tang Clan of professional wrestling. And so we made it, and that's you'll find like videos of Darius, Movie Mike, Bobby Valentine, Big Time Ya, Savannah Evans. It's just pretty much like the Hot Spots trainees that were designated together for that. So there's that. And then you've got Monster Struder, which is a whole other personality that some people have gotten to see and some people haven't. So those are the 3 YouTube pages you can find me at as well. So.
All right, Joe. Anything else?
That's it. It's episode 23.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being on the show with us.
No problem.
See you next time.